now.
End the embargo now.
Cuba sí.
Blockade no.
Cuba sí.
Blockade no.
Cuba sí.
Blockade no.
End the embargo now. Want to talk, Jason? Cuba sí, blockade no. Blockade no. Cuba sí, blockade no.
Yeah, let me know when you get ready. No, I have to take your photo.
What do we want?
End the embargo.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
End the embargo.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
End the embargo.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
End the embargo.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
End the embargo.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
End the embargo.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
End the embargo.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want? End the embargo. When do we want it?
Now.
Lift the blockade on Cuba now! 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 Lift the blockade on Cuba now!
Lift the blockade on Cuba now.
The blockade. Lift the blockade on Cuba now.
Cuba sí,
Blockade no.
Cuba sí,
Blockade no.
Cuba sí,
Blockade no. Blockade no. Cuba sí. Blockade no.
Cuba sí,
Blockade no.
Cuba sí, bloqueo no. Cuba sí, bloqueo no. Bloqueo no. Cuba sí, bloqueo no. Cuba sí, bloqueo no. Lift the inhumane and criminal blockade on Cuba.
Now.
Lift the criminal and inhumane blockade on Cuba.
Now.
Lift the inhumane and criminal blockade on Cuba.
Now.
Let Cuba live. Let Cuba live. Let Cuba live. Let Cuba live.
End the embargo.
Now.
Let Cuba live. End the embargo.
Let Cuba
Cuba
live. End the embargo. Let Cuba live.
End the embargo.
Let Cuba live.
Let Cuba live. Let Cuba live. End the embargo. 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 Let Cuba live. End the embargo.
Let Cuba live.
Hello, folks. I don't want to run into the spirit of picket, but I'm worried about our cars so far. We're in good shape. Let's just bunch around. We're going to have a little short rally. Good turnout today, despite the cold weather. We've got lots of good images.
Right around there, just
Let's gather around the statue, and we'll get some good shots. We got good photos and videos that we're going to get sent to Cuba and all over the world. I haven't heard a report from Miami yet, but I know they were organizing a spirited caravan today. I really should keep an accurate count, but I think this is our 11th or our 12th caravan. We, as soon as the call went out from Miami, from Carlos Lasso and the Bridges of Love, we responded in New York right away, and whatever the weather, the rain, the snow, we've been out here in our numbers, and we're committed to doing this. So I guess let's have a short rally. I guess I'll just call on a few folks that can say a few words. Everybody knows that November 15th, which was this much hyped, ballyhooed response of the U.S. government to try to activate its networks inside Cuba that they promoted since the July 11th events, that turned out to be a big fizzle, that was organized consciously to try to disrupt and derail Cuba's opening to tourism that was scheduled and has successfully began to be carried out on November 15th. The Cubans are able to do this because of the amazing success they've had and turnaround that they've had in controlling the COVID-19 pandemic in Cuba over the last couple of months. And now over 80% of the population is vaccinated. Cuba is returning to a degree of, cautiously returning to a degree of normalcy in its economic, commercial life, in tourism, and so on. And this is perversely a political problem for the Biden administration and for the bipartisan anti-Cuba policy. And now we're starting to see more and more stuff come out and answering the lies after the fizzle of November 15th. So the pressure is increasing. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you all for coming. Let's call on a few folks here. I'm just going to do it randomly. Can I ask Nancy Cabrero from Casa de las Americas to say a few words? All right.
I'm happy to be here too. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you all for being here. And I'd like to thank those of you who are listening and are curious about why we are here. We are here because we love our brothers and sisters in Cuba. There is a United States imposed embargo on the island. It hurts the people of Cuba. You yourself are not allowed to go to Cuba, so it hurts you to not be able to make your own conclusions about this beautiful island that just wants to be its own country. It's a sovereign country. It had a revolution, just like this country. It wants to live. Right. Okay. And we are bringing attention to the fact that the President of the United States is making it difficult on the people of Cuba, even more difficult than our previous president. And that's wrong. It's inhumane. It's criminal. It's wrong. It's inhumane. It's criminal to continue year after year after year that this country imposes an embargo on Cuba that hurts the people. And so we're here to say, President Biden, lift the sanctions. Let Cuba receive the medicines it needs for its people. Let Americans travel to Cuba so that Americans can make their own conclusions about Cuba. Let Cuba live. It had a revolution that the people wanted. It's been over 60 years that Cuba is the country it wants to be. The United States of America needs to allow Cuba to do what it wants to do, to be what it wants to be, to let the people of Cuba live. The criminal and inhumane blockade that this country has on Cuba is wrong. We shouldn't be hurting people that way. It's wrong. The blockade needs to be lifted, and we need your help by writing to the president. It doesn't matter if you're not Cuban. You just need to be human and understand that what this country is doing to Cuba is wrong. President Biden, please lift the sanctions on Cuba. Let Cuba live. The sanctions are inhumane and criminal. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for coming. You all know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wabo. Thank you, Nancy, and thank you always to CASA, who's got a good contingent here. The oldest, before the revolution, solidarity with Cuba organization in the United States, and we're always proud to partner with CASA. Can I ask somebody from the Venceremos Brigade to give a few brief remarks? Bill Sachs. Thank you, Bill.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm from the Venceremos Brigade. Also from Workers' World Party. We stand in solidarity with the Cuban Revolution, the Cuban people, and have done so since 1959. And we come out here every month and as often as we can to demand an end to the blockade and an end to the illegal U.S. occupation of Guantanamo. The Venceremos Brigade is the oldest organization challenging and fighting against the travel restrictions. We've been going to Cuba since 1969 in violation of the U.S. law, which we don't respect. We say the people have a right to visit Cuba, and why does the U.S. not want us to visit Cuba? They don't want us to see the society that's being built there. A society that's built based on human needs, human progress, free education, free health care, and not based on corporate profits.
Oh, sorry, here.
That's what they don't want us to
This
see.
is the pickup line
We're happy to congratulate Cuba
against the U.S.
for opening up
policies
its
on Cuba. We
borders
do it every
on
month.
November 15th. And the first trip, brigade, from IFCO Pastors for Peace went to Cuba on the 15th and returned 2 nights ago. And we congratulate Cuba for opening up the borders, and we encourage as many people from this country to join the Venceremos Brigade, the May Day Brigade, the Friendshipment Caravan, to go to Cuba and see for yourself the society that's being built, and come back and fight against the blockade and demand the U.S. leave Guantanamo and return it to the Cuban people and end the criminal blockade. Venceremos.
Bravo! Thank you, Bill. Thank you very much, and thank you for pointing out that the Friendshipment Caravan just returned. Some of them got back yesterday and today. Very successful trip. We'll be having some report backs from that. Our own Bob Miller from New York, New Jersey, Cuba C was part of it, and a number of other people, Gail, that often come to our caravans. I'm sure we'll have the next one and reporting back. Okay, somebody from the Socialist Workers Party, give a brief statement. Brother Seth.
For more than 60 years, the U.S. government has done everything in its power to try to destroy the Cuban Revolution. This November 15th, once again, their actions failed. They hoped that they would be able to take advantage of the real economic crisis that the Cuban Revolution faces, because it's part of the world, and there's a deep capitalist economic crisis, and there's the impact of the pandemic. They hoped that they could spark some kind of, movement against the revolution, and they failed. At the same time, Cuba achieved a very important victory. More than 82% of the people in Cuba are fully vaccinated, and over 90% have had their first vaccination, and it's voluntary, not mandated like in the U.S. How do you explain both things? Why is it that the U.S. government has never given up on its hope to destroy the revolution? And why is it that despite over 60 years of its attempt, the revolution remains strong, the socialist revolution in Cuba? And that's because working people have taken power out of the hands of the capitalist class and organized society in the interest of the vast majority. That's what the U.S. rulers can't stand. They will never forgive the Cuban people for taking power out of the hands of the U.S. companies and the capitalist class there, and showing that society can be organized in a different way. Some people in the U.S. ask, how is it possible that Cuba developed its own vaccines and has achieved such a success? But it's not a medical miracle. It shows you what working people can accomplish when they stand up and fight together. Che Guevara was once asked by some medical students, how do we become revolutionary doctors? And he said, first you have to make a revolution. That's why the U.S. government can't stand what's going on in Cuba, because they know that as the crisis deepens around the world, more and more people are looking for an alternative to the dog-eat-dog morality of capitalism. We see the beginnings of some of that right here in the U.S. with more workers on strike than at any time in the last several decades, because people are feeling the crisis. So that's why more than ever we have to say, end the embargo. We know the lies of the U.S. government are going to continue. So we need to continue actions like what we're doing today to answer those lies and get out the truth. The Cuban people will never give up. We will never stop being on their side until we win against the last empire in the world. So end the embargo now. U.S. out of Guantanamo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Seth. Thank you. Jason, would you like to say a few words for New York, New Jersey, Cuba C?
Thank you. I'll just elaborate on one thing that comes to mind immediately. A lot of what has already been said regarding the ending to the embargo has been said very well. Cuba, among other things, inspires us with their internationalism. For instance, when Africa called, Cuba answered. About 3 weeks ago, marked 33 years when the Cuban government decided to send additional soldiers, voluntary, to Southern Africa, to Angola, to push back an advancement that the apartheid government, the apartheid army was making against Angolan independence at that time. That contribution on the part of Cuba resulted in a military victory that in turn resulted in the unraveling of the apartheid government and the freeing of Nelson Mandela. It was that single-most contribution, along with contributions to the independence struggles of Algeria, the independence struggles of Namibia, thank you. Guinea-Bissau, that was the country I was trying to think of. These things set an example of the type of human solidarity that Cuba has represented in the past and continues to represent. Not to mention what Cuban doctors did in fighting Ebola in Liberia and elsewhere. The example Cuban doctors set when in Italy last year, when they volunteered to help out against COVID in that country. It is this type of human solidarity that is an example of what we can do worldwide when we change a dog-eat-dog system of finance capital. When Africa called, Cuba answered. That is something that inspires me particular, and will continue to inspire people worldwide. And let us return that by demanding an end to the U.S. embargo against Cuba, ending the criminal blockade, ending U.S. subversive activity, returning Guantanamo, lifting the travel restrictions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Marty, a quick word. Thank you. Marty Goodman from Socialist Action.
Thank you, Ike. Thank you. Well, it's wonderful to be here again to oppose the blockade of Cuba, the illegal and imperialist blockade of Cuba. I was in Miami when the revolution happened, and I saw the gusanos pile in by the tens of thousands into Miami and set up their own mafia-infested infrastructure there. I know over the years there's been many scandals. The left there was attacked physically for fighting to end the embargo. We were attacked physically, me included, when we supported the Nicaraguan effort to stop the U.S. war on Nicaragua and their support to the Contra criminals. I want to say that as a worker, a trade union official who's retired, that when people talk about free medical care and free education, it's fantastic, it's wonderful. But I tell you the thing I like the most is that Cuba smashed the ruling class, took over the factories, and seized the land. That's the #1 points that I make when I talk to people. Now, the U.S. has never reconciled itself with a socialist government, a government which has shown solidarity throughout the world, and Jonah gave you a fine example. Also in nearby Haiti, during the cholera epidemic and during the earthquake in 2010, Cuba sent loads of Cuban aid, medical aid, and all kind of aid to Haiti. And Cuba played an exemplary role in that. I just want to end by saying that there's no Democratic or Republican agenda in this country. There's only one agenda, and that's the capitalist agenda. Biden is tightening the screws on Cuba. Biden is continuing to support a dictatorship in Haiti. And I say down with U.S. imperialism, revolution in the United States, Haiti, and throughout the world. Thank you, Cuba.
Okay, Marty, thank you. I was going to ask Aaron to wrap it up with a couple words, but I don't know, she'll probably interview with somebody. But I think I'd love to have anybody else would like to make a couple of remarks. Mark, you want to say something? We have a great contingent from Queens here, and we're going to try to... Olga, would you like to say a few words? It is. So let's, I guess we'll wrap it up. Thank you all for coming. We'll let you know what we do next month and going into 2022. Okay, that'd be great. Olga Barcelo from Queens, that's going to be translated, one of our Cuban Americans that are here with us. Thank you so much, Olga. And then after that, we'll
a todos por todas las veces que han hecho grandes cosas y han pedido lo justo para mi país.
I want to thank all of you here for being here today and for all the times you've been here, for doing the great things you're doing to do what's right for my country.
Yes, por todas las cosas lindas que hacen para que mi país siempre siga adelante.
And for all the wonderful things that you are calling for my country to be able to make progress and step forward.
Por mejorar la vida de los cubanos, de la familia cubana.
To improve the life of Cubans, to improve the lives of Cuban families.
Yeah. Y gracias, infinitas gracias a todos.
And a million thanks to all of you.
Los quiero.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to do it again next month and the months to come. Thanks everybody for coming, and I think that's it. right, let's hope we didn't get any tickets on our cars. Cuba, si bloqueo, no!
Cuba, si bloqueo!